one of the main topics in everybody's mind in our district, at least at the certified level and administrative level, is the REIL, Rewarding Excellence in Instruction and Leadership. Many people have very little knowledge about REIL or how we ever even ended up in REIL in the first place. This is the type of thing I've always wanted to send out mass mailings on Outlook, but it really never was appropriate for me to be doing that about something that was continuously so fluid. I did not want to send out emails that could be possibly misconstrued or not be in line with what the district's philosophies were related to our involvement in the grant. So we relied on weekly meetings with all of the unit chairs and the faculty meetings and other communications that would happen at each site. But let me just take you through this last year and a half, because now it has become very important for all of you to understand exactly how did we get to where we're at today. It basically started in early summer of 2010. During that summer, some presentations were made to presidents of different school associations for the 6 districts that are now involved in the REIL, and I was given a bit of information about the county's plan to apply for a TIF grant, which stands for Teacher Incentive Fund grant through the federal government, and for the most part knew how much money would be involved, approximately $51 million, of which about half of that would go to Phoenix Union if we were a part of this grant. Now, I think most of you would understand that 360 school districts and charter schools in Arizona made sure that they put their names on the list by the deadline that was required by the state, saying that if a RTTT grant was approved, and that is a race to the top grant by the federal government, everybody had to turn in an application by a certain deadline to be able to qualify for their share of that money. This was really not that much different. It was a $51 million grant. A law called ARS 15-203 had just recently been passed, which will require all of you teachers to have at least 1/3 of whatever your evaluation score is based on student progress. That goes into effect in the year 2012-2013. With that knowledge, it became an easy decision for not only myself and the superintendent, but also the state president and vice president of the Arizona Education Association to write letters to those who would be proposing the grant, saying we would work cooperatively and collaboratively and in good faith with them based on the premises and the purposes of the grant. So we did sign on to work in good faith. However, immediately I discussed with our superintendent how necessary it would be for this entire process to go through what we call IBN, interest-based negotiations. That was an absolute agreement, and being in interest-based negotiations meant that we knew that we were going to go through the negotiations process in deciding whether or not we would maintain our involvement in this grant for the entire 5 years of the grant. Well, the first 2 years were considered to be practice years, basically preparing for those years in which teachers would be eligible to earn additional money, bonus money, for how effective they were as teachers. From the very beginning, we knew that we would be having a ratification vote in the spring of 2012. Well, we're getting close to that ratification vote. So how did we get from August of 2010 up to today? The first semester in the year 2010-11, there really wasn't a lot of things happening. If you remember, you all ended up in a faculty meeting where a person from the county, the superintendent and myself, stood before all of you and told you how all certified were eligible for this grant. Well, later on, I'm sure some of you remember how you were told that, guess what, they made a little mistake, it was only classroom teachers. We still have not solved that issue because we have no money to be trying to get everybody paid up current. I'll talk to you about that in a later video. and use 301 monies. We have no intentions of using 301 monies to apply towards payments on this grant. So we had a lot of things to sort out. We went into the spring of the year 2010-2011 and we developed a teacher evaluation team. We also developed an admin evaluation team. We developed a communications team. During that spring, we worked religiously on development of an instrument, an evaluation instrument that would be used to practice the following year in getting ready for this grant. When we first entered that activity, we were working with the understanding that we would be developing our own instrument for Phoenix Union High School District. Well, we did contribute and give ideas towards an instrument that ended up being developed, but you know, when somebody asks me if I'll write a chapter for a textbook, and I say yes, and then they bring me a chapter to the textbook and just ask me to proofread it and give them ideas, that's quite a bit different than writing a chapter to the book. I would say that the latter is a better description of what our participation was in the development of the evaluation instrument. But we were already committed to good faith cooperation with the county for this grant. We did get the evaluation instrument out into everybody's hands in August. I'm sure you'll all remember the faculty meeting you attended in which you were given a copy of the evaluation instrument. That is the instrument that is being used to do your practice evaluations this year. Now, I can only imagine some people watching this video already scoffing at my using the term practice evaluations. Well, they are practice evaluations. We negotiated that these evaluations will not go into your personnel file. They are practice evaluations. If any administrator is saying to you, don't let CTA fool you, these evaluations count, well, that would be a very misleading statement for that administrator to say to you. Why? Because here's the deal. ADE, the Arizona Department of Education, requires there to be physical evidence for each school district that they did indeed evaluate their teachers. And they do require that to be available for them to see if they do an audit. But these evaluations that are practiced this year
will not go into your personnel file. So where are we now? Now we are in the second year. Many of you watching this will have gone through one pre-conference, one evaluation, and one post-conference. Anyway, I certainly hope that all of you will have gone through at least one cycle before we have our ratification vote. What will it mean when we have this ratification vote? It will mean that this is an approval or disapproval to continue going on with our involvement in REIL. Watching this one video, one of several to follow, is not going to give you enough information to make that decision. You need to stay tuned and you need to keep following these videos, because over a series of probably 10 to 12 videos, I will be giving you all the information you could possibly want or need about what exactly is our situation right now, what options do we have, what choices do we have, and I'll be covering all of that with you as diligently as I possibly can. You need to follow the videos. In the meantime, I want you to know that you can write to me at edwardbufford@aol.com, or you could just write to Bufford, Edward on Outlook. Feel free to do that. Feel free to write and give suggestions as to what other topics you would like me to talk about in future videos so that I don't end up leaving anything out. But in the meantime, it's very important that you follow these videos for the next 30 days. Because when it does come time for us to be making a decision, we want to be able to have as much input from all of you as we possibly can have. And I want to be able to say to myself that I put out as much information as I possibly could to make sure everybody understood exactly what it would mean for us to be involved in REIL for the next 3 years. So stay tuned, and I hope that helps, and I'll be making another video very soon.